Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1200 and I'll make up a number. No, this is the real number. 277. 1277. 1977, my friend. That was a disco-ish year. Lots of disco going on. And Dick Clark. And Saturday morning cartoons. And Scooby-Doo. Oh, fun times.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I can't even tell you. Hey, Mike's Daily Podcast page on Facebook had 2 new views.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Well, I would like to welcome you to America, or as the Republicans would like to say, Omitica, because they want to omit anyone they don't like at all, and that makes us keep rolling like a ball through the world on our
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Big blue ball that's called Earth. I am an Earthling, as are you.
Mike's
Happy Friday.
Daily
Thanks for listening to the show.
Podcast.
Today we have the Fascinating Material Project, the FM Project. Plus, we'll hear from John Deere the Engineer, Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman. It's going to be exciting, riveting show. Now, we'll get to that whole thing about the courts that were upholding the travel ban is unconstitutional or illegal or something. And well, you know what? Fox immediately jumped on it and said, okay, now that the courts shall be blamed for any terrorism that happens. And then Trump was blaming the media, as I was mentioning on the last podcast, that the media isn't covering terrorism enough, that there's a bunch of terrorist activities that the media doesn't even talk about. Which I heard then a Iraqian reporter that reports and is knee-deep in all the stuff, terrorism activity, the ISIS stuff, and she said, no, the media pretty much jumps on anything terrorist-related and talks about it. Although then they mentioned something that happened in Chattanooga that I wasn't aware of. I think because it happened on a military base that was labeled terrorist activity. So, now I'm all confused. And that's how I am. I'm a confused person. But should we be Omitica? Should we omit people like this person that just walked in?
Hello, Mike Matthews and Chely Shoehart. Get stuff to a razor. Don't omit me.
I would never omit you.
Mike Matthews, I'm in love.
You're in love. You found someone to love so close to Valentine's Day.
That's right, Mike Matthews.
What's his name?
Bob.
Bob. You met a Bob?
Yes, Mike Matthews. And he's got a bob on top of his head.
He's got a hair bob. He's got a bun.
He's got nice buns, and he's got a bun on top of his head.
Well, congratulations. You found someone.
Did I mention that I'm in love?
That's great. You guys have pet names for each other?
He calls me Cricket, and I call him the Hamburglar.
Look who else just walked in. Thank God. Hello, Mike. This is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere the Engineer. We're in love, too. Wonderful. Mike, I think that John Deere the Engineer is the king of my world. Oh, that's great. Could we get any more stupid sound effects in this show? Oh, Nilly's here.
Hi, Mike. It's Benita the rodeo queen. We walked in too, y'all.
Wow, there's too many people in here. We're reaching critical mass. Critical mass? What? That has to do with another story, and nuclear power plants coming up a little bit later on. Did your husband come in here with you too?
Yeah, Mike, here it is.
Mike, tell you what.
What?
Trump is right. The media never talks about the terrorism and all the horrible women that are in power, like Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren is awesome.
America elected Donald Trump. And yeah, the Russians helped. And yeah, the FBI director helped. And yeah, he lost the popular vote by 3 million votes. But we cannot let ourselves off the hook so easily. Not as progressives, not as Democrats. The excuses end now.
I hate her.
Disgruntled Fiddle Player, you can't be like that. It seems like people on the right, they've got to demonize all the women in power, and you can't demonize Elizabeth Warren.
Yes, I can. It's American freedom of speech.
Well, you know, are you going to demonize as well Nancy Pelosi? She had this to say about Steve Bannon.
What's making America less safe is to have a white supremacist named to the National Security Council. It's a stunning thing that a white supremacist, Bannon, would be a permanent member of the National Security Council and dismissing Chairman of Joint Chiefs and the Director of National National Intelligence as permanent members.
No, I don't just hate women. I also hate George Soros.
Oh, wonderful. So you're a equal opportunity deployer of hate, I guess.
Mark, he's a loving guy. That's why we're in love for Valentine's Day. Coming up real soon. We gotta go. Bye, bye. Love it.
Wonderful. I also wrote down here, someone I know on Facebook who I worked for in California, in Southern California. Oh, awesome.
And here's today's podcast picture.
But before we get into that story, up here in Northern California, it's rained a lot. There was flash floods going all day long. We had so many emergency alert system, EAS, break-ins. In other words, the radio station is doing its content, is playing its show, its programming, and all of a sudden it just gets interrupted. It could be in the middle of a commercial and it just stops, and you hear that beep, 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 beep. And then somebody comes on.
The National Weather Service was on Facebook. No, flash flood.
And that happened about 15 times yesterday. So I'm sitting here at work going, is my house gone? Did it just get swept away in Podcastro Valley? I was so worried about that and about my Basil the Boxer. So I got home. First off, the drive home, just sprinkles, the whole drive from Fremont to Podcastro Valley, up Mission, just completely fine. It wasn't the hell that I usually get into, the traffic jam that I get into on Fridays. And I get home, and it's fine. There's no leaking in the basement. Basil's is a little bit wet, but then the Great Pyrenees dogs Basil and I saw. We went on a walk, and it rained on us off and on. At the end, it just was, we were just soaked. And I have a towel ready for him when I get home, and I dry him off, and he loves that. And then he's all like super smooth, super clean. Thank you, Rain. My dog is Rain clean. But on the wonderful walk we were on yesterday, we walked up to Columbia. Yes, there's a place called Columbia in Podcastro Valley. And no, they don't have a lot of cocaine there, as far as I know. Just nice people. And there's this guy I run into every couple of months who's got these two Great Pyrenees dogs. One of them is named Malkovich, Moriarty, McElvoy. What's the one? Marley? Mortimer. I knew it was one of those old British names. Mortimer's quite old. The Great Pyrenees dog he used to have, and those are those big fluffy white dogs. The one he used to have died. But it got to 17 years old. And so all you people that say, hey, you got a big dog, he's going to be dead at the age of 8. No. 17, my friend. That means Basil could be around for another 10 years. That's crazy. So he got a new Great Pyrenees, 1-year-old puppy that was just the sweetest thing. It was like a big cat. It jumped up. It was practically jumping up on my lap, even though I wasn't sitting. And he was playing with Basil, and even though it was raining, and this big dog with all his hair is so wet, and it was fun day yesterday, despite the rain, despite all the EAS reports, despite all the omissions. Well, there was no omissions, because we'll find out what the courts did, but someone I know feels omitted from California. who I used to work for, this guy in California, he said on Facebook, he took one of those "which state do you belong in" tests. Now, he lives in Missouri, or Missouri, or however they say it, the Misery state, or whatever. And he put on Facebook, "Hey, I used to live in California. This test I took says I should be back in California, but it's too expensive. I can't afford it." Yet he lived here for quite a while. I don't know. How was he affording it then? How was he living here then? I don't know. So many people that say, I can't afford California, yet they're here. I don't get it. You don't eat out? That's one of the things you do to stay here, and you complain about the insurance you have to pay, and then I guess we're trying to keep other people out of California. The point I'm making is, who knows? But I'm here now, and there's a lot of water, and that's my whole point, was Lake Chabot is overflowing, and that's what the podcast picture is. Despite a little bit of rain here and there, Lake Chabot is full, my friend, and it is so... I did have a picture of Basil the Boxer by Lake Chabot a couple days, was it last week or the week before? And this picture, no Basil in it, but it's just so much more full than the last picture I had of it. So check out that picture at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Also go there if you'd like to help out the show. There's a link to Amazon. Click on that Amazon link, buy whatever you want, and it helps support us and keep us living here in California so that I can report on it like I do on the show, like I did today. My golly, I like talking like that, like this guy does.
You were office deckhand.
No, that didn't sound like it at all. Don't know what I was saying there. Anyway. Anyway.
You've got to be kidding me.
But sometimes I don't see the forest for the trees.
Is you blind?
I guess I am a little bit. You know what? Finally, help out the show through the PayPal, and you'll get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. You'll become an Inglorious Mike's Daily Podcaster. You can also call us. 336-MM Daily is the phone number. 336-MM Daily. And finally, there's all the past podcast pictures and past interviews and past shows. And now...
The Fascinating Material Project.
FM Project.
What in the world was that about?
So, a federal appeals court refused yesterday to reinstate Donald Trump's ban on travelers from 7 predominantly Muslim nations, which they blame on the Republicans use Obama. They've been using Obama a lot. There was an NPR report this past weekend, and I love Lulu Garcia Navarro. Thank you so much for replacing Rachel Martin. Thank you, Lulu. Oh, it used to be Lourdes, I think. Lulu, your Sunday show, I love it. And you know what? I listen to you through, like I'm talking to her like she's listening to this podcast. I listen to you through KCLU, which is on the campus of Cal State Lutheran University in the Ventura County area where I used to live. And I love listening to and I get the little Ventura County news reports, and I find out how wet it is down there. And when it gets really rainy in Southern California, everything just slides into the Pacific. It just goes all into the ocean. So I like to keep up to date on my Sunday mornings and listen to it that way. So they were talking all about how this whole thing, where the courts and whatnot is what they were talking about. No, they weren't. They were talking about something else. Anyway, I'll get back to that Cafe Anyway. But meanwhile, thank you. Back to this story, this breaking story about the federal appeals courts. They refused yesterday to reinstate Donald Trump's ban on travelers from 7 predominantly Muslim... Oh, yeah. The thing that they were talking about in the NPR story was how they used Obama a lot. They mention Obama a lot, but they use it to do these weird, very un-Obama-ish things, like banning people from coming into the country. Well, Obama, he was the one that started the 7 predominantly Muslim nation ban thing to begin with. And they invoke his name a lot. unanimously rejecting the administration's claim, the federal appeals court did, of presidential authority and questioning its motives. The panel of 3 judges from the San Francisco-based, let's hear it for San Francisco, just over there, I'm pointing to it, across the bay. The San Francisco-based 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals declined to block a lower court ruling that suspended the ban and allowed previously banned travelers to enter the U.S. The court battle is far from over. The lower court still must debate the merits of the ban, and an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court seems likely. That could put the decision in the hands of a divided court that has a vacancy. Trump's nominee, Neil Gorsuch, could not be confirmed in time to take part in any consideration of the ban. Moments after the ruling was released, Trump tweeted, "See you in court," adding, "The security of our nation is at stake," which Fox then picked up and said, "Oh, the next terrorism thing is going to happen because of this court decision." In response, Washington Governor Jay Inslee, a Democrat who leads one of the states that challenged the ban, said, "Mr. President, we just saw you in court, and we beat you." Can I get some kind of... Oh, how about this one? Very good. So that's that story right now going on. And then I wanted to also mention an explosion at a nuclear power plant in northern France yesterday caused minor injuries but took place outside the plant's nuclear zone, posed no risk of contamination, authorities said. It's a significant technical event, but it is not a nuclear accident, said a local official. The cause of the explosion at the power station, which has been in operation since the 80s, was not immediately known. 5 people had reported feeling unwell, but there were no serious injuries. The rescue services were at the site. One of the plant's 2 reactors was shut down. After the explosion, the incident was declared over. Then, by the afternoon, this was at the Flamanville plant, 25 or 15 miles west of Cherbourg. Wow. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. I saw something on Facebook about the Fukushima plant still spewing out radiation. And here we are on the west coast of America. That was not good news. But then I couldn't find any other story about that. So, thank you, Facebook. Was that fake news? I don't know. But that was, after the big tsunami in Japan a couple years back and the Fukushima meltdown. That was scary. There was a whole thing on PBS, Frontline, talked all about it. And, yeah, it was bad. Real bad. So, that's the end of the show. We'll end on a positive note, and that is that it's the weekend, and hopefully you'll get to do fun things. Of course, I won't, because it's the weekend, and I still have friends that invite me to things that happen while I'm at work. I'm only working 6 hours on Saturday and Sunday from noon to 6, but for some reason, all my friends decide to plan the things for that time period. You can't wait till after 6, and these are young people. These are 20-somethings, 30-somethings inviting me to things at noon. Why am I going to a place to drink beer at noon? Idiots. 12:30. I was invited. It was so nice of them. They're such nice people. But I get so... Why am I being invited to things? Why don't you wait till later? You're young people. Do it at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I'll go to that. But not in the middle of the... I got a job. I work 7 days a week. But part of it was because... here we are, so close to Valentine's Day. I might as well talk about this. I was married for 8 years. And it turned out, and this happens to a lot of marriages that break up, that my ex-wife's friends, I thought were my friends. But then when the divorce happened, those friends just went away. And I was alone. I had one friend that stuck with me. So, what ended up happening was, I said, I'm going to get back into radio. I wasn't working in radio at the time, and I said, it's been 5 years since I was in radio. I need to get back in. I have talent in this area. Not much, but that's the only thing I know. So I got back into it, And oh my gosh, lo and behold, I start making friends again. Woohoo! So I was happy. And in fact, in my happiness, I actually, the past holidays, I was invited. The only things I was invited to was not the friends or the friend that I had from before, because that friend always invites me to things that are happening while I'm working, because apparently that friend who's like in his 30-somethings has to do stuff in the middle of the afternoon when I'm at work. He can't do anything after 6, because he's an old man at 30 whatever. But anyway, the thing is that my radio friends invited me to things I could go to. So they're the awesome friends. So let's end on that positive note. Next show, it's going to be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Have a great weekend.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!